Welcome to Earth Archives. Where among UFO incidents, the most famous is undoubtedly the Roswell incident. Whether it caused a sensation at the time or is still talked about today, we'll discuss the public disclosure and other theories about this incident today. Before we start the program, please subscribe, share, and if you can leave a comment, that would be even better. Alright, let's start the program. Let's first understand the course of events. On June 14, 1947, a rancher named W.W. Mac Brazel and his son were driving through a ranch about 80 miles northwest of Roswell when they saw something they had never seen before. In Brazel's words, it was a large area of bright wreckage, made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, quite tough paper, and sticks. This lightweight fabric with a metallic texture was scattered over the gravel and sagebrush of the New Mexico desert. Not knowing how to deal with these newly discovered items, and not knowing how they landed on this piece of land, Brazel collected all the mysterious wreckage he could find on July 4, nearly a month later. On July 7, he transported all the wreckage to Roswell and handed it over to Sheriff George Wilcox. But Sheriff George Wilcox was also at a loss. Not knowing what to do, he took the initiative to contact Colonel Butch Blanchard of the Roswell Army Air Field's 509th Composite Group outside the city in search of answers. This put Blanchard in a dilemma, and after looking at the command system, he decided to contact his superior, General Roger W. Ramey, commander of the 8th Air Force in Fort Worth, Texas. At the same time, Blanchard sent Base Intelligence Officer Major Jesse Marcel for a thorough investigation. Marcel, accompanied by the sheriff and Brazel, returned to the scene of the wreckage and collected all the wreckage. When they tried to determine what these materials were, Marcel chose to make a public statement. The next day, the RAF released a statement, writing that, the many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday when the intelligence office of the 509th Bomb Group of the 8th Air Force, Roswell Army Air Field, was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc through the cooperation of one of the local ranchers and the Sheriff's Office of Chavez County. On July 8, Marcel's comments were published in the local afternoon newspaper, the Roswell Daily Record, with the headline, RAF Captures Flying Saucer on Ranch in Roswell. There was a dramatic, unforgettable sentence. The intelligence office of the 509th Bombardment Group at Roswell Army Air Field announced at noon today that the field has come into the possession of a flying saucer. Quickly, U.S. Army officials overturned the flying saucer claim, saying the discovered debris actually came from a weather balloon, and released a photo of Major Marcel with the so-called weather balloon debris as evidence. The above is the publicly known information, but there are other theories. Roger Launius, the retired curator of the Space History Department at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, once said, apparently, it was better from the Air Force's perspective that there was a crashed alien. He also added, a flying saucer was easier to admit than Project Mogul. And with that, we were off to the races. What is Project Mogul? Let's go back to 1947, after the end of World War II, when the global, social, and political situation was being redrawn. At this time, the Soviet Union began to claim sovereignty over Eastern European countries. Voice of America broadcasted in Russian and promoted American democratic principles, while the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists sounded the doomsday clock. The Marshall Plan, which was being formulated, aimed to rebuild war-torn Europe. The UFO incident that appeared this summer attracted great attention. On June 21, a sailor named Harold Dahl claimed to have seen 6 unidentified flying objects in the sky near Maury Island in Puget Sound, Washington. The next morning, Dahl said he was found by the men in black, and listened to the report. 3 days after this sighting, an amateur pilot named Kenneth Arnold claimed to have spotted a flying saucer in the sky over Mount Rainier in Washington state. Launius said, unidentified flying objects are not uncommon. They're just unidentified objects you see in the sky. We've probably all seen them. And if you look far enough, you might eventually figure out what you're looking at. It's not aliens. By the end of 1947, the world was in a state of hysteria, with more than 300 so-called flying saucer sightings occurring in the last 6 months of the year. It's not to say there's any credible evidence to support these sightings, Launius added. In early July 1947, Brazel heard about the flying saucer stories in the Pacific Northwest. These sightings prompted him to show his findings to the authorities, and the day after the Air Force announced it had a flying saucer, the Roswell Daily Record broke the story. A statement issued by the Washington Army Department said that the debris collected on Brazel's ranch was the wreckage of a weather balloon, and the morning headline of the Roswell Dispatch, Army debunks Roswell flying disc as world simmers with excitement, set the tale to rest on July 9. But we need to back it up. Here, Launius said, what was really going on was something called Project Mogul. According to a report released by the U.S. Air Force in 1994, the weather balloon story was a fabrication. According to the explanation, the debris came from a spy device created for a classified project called Project Mogul. The device was a string of high-altitude balloons connected together with microphones, intended to float stealthily over the Soviet Union and detect sound waves from a hidden distance. These balloons would monitor attempts by the Soviet government to test atomic bombs. The report stated that since Project Mogul was a secret operation, it was necessary to misinterpret the crash incident to prevent the details of the spy operation from being leaked. Project Mogul was conducted in Washington, D.C., and the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, with some of the high-altitude balloon launches taking place in the high desert near the border of the state and Texas. Typically, the Project Mogul balloons sent into the stratosphere stretched 657 feet from top to tail, 102 feet taller than the Washington Monument and twice the size of the Statue of Liberty. As the balloons rode the upper jet stream towards Russia, a long tail equipped with various types of sensing and listening devices trailed behind. But obviously, something happened to this balloon, Launius said. It returned to Earth and possibly scattered over a wide area. In this secret project, the US government launched high-altitude balloons into the ionosphere, hoping to monitor Russia's nuclear tests. Launius said, the Russians didn't get nuclear weapons until 1949, but we didn't know that in 1947. As the US government was in the midst of a frenzy of nuclear testing at the time, whether in the South Pacific or later at the Nevada test site, secret government projects led some citizens to be suspicious, and UFO sightings became a good way to divert attention. Suddenly there were rumors of extraterrestrial life on Earth, let alone crashed spacecraft. So the story goes, in June 1947, 2 alien spacecraft crashed in New Mexico, with items and green crew members from the ship scattered everywhere. Soon after, government secret properties, from nuclear facilities to engineering sites, were suspected of holding deceased or imprisoned aliens. Area 51, about a 90-minute drive north of Las Vegas, became a hotspot, with rumors suggesting that aliens from the Roswell spacecraft and other crashed spacecraft were either undergoing autopsies or being placed in cylindrical glass jars filled with gelatinous preservatives. The US government not only did not quell speculation, but posted large, clear, no trespassing signs at the most secret locations, also reminding those who entered illegally, authorized use of deadly force. Launius, who has participated in several investigative groups discussing things that might exist outside of Earth, seems to find the hysteria surrounding the Roswell incident for over 70 years more interesting. He said, well, what I really know is that unidentified flying objects are just that. They are unidentified objects seen in the sky. But they are not aliens. Alright, there's another theory. Proposed in the book, Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military Base, it suggests that the crashed aircraft was neither an alien nor a US spy facility, but an unconventional project implemented by Soviet strongman Joseph Stalin, aimed at causing widespread panic in the US. An unnamed source, who once worked as an engineer at Area 51 for defense contractor EG&G, told the book's author, senior national security journalist and Pulitzer Prize nominee Annie Jacobson, that the project was designed by Nazi concentration camp Dr. Joseph Mengele. The source said that the Soviets deformed adolescent children into the appearance of aliens, then put them on planes and flew them over New Mexico. According to the book, Stalin's plan was to have the children crawl out and be mistaken for visitors from Mars. Panic would ensue. The US early warning radar system would be overwhelmed by sightings of other, unidentified flying objects. Of course, this is just an urban legend, with no credible evidence to support it. I'm not sure if you're interested in UFOs, but after hearing about this incident, what do you think?